stuff. Yeah, ready, Jen?
Sure.
Yep.
Meeting, well, since we don't have a gavel, the pre-council meeting will now come to order June 3rd with Mayor Tom Girani presiding. Call the roll.
Yes,
Start with
Kristen.
roll call. Mayor Girani.
Here?
Councilwoman Barber. Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hugg.
Here.
Councilman McFarland.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Odeker.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye. Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
Tom?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, to start the meeting, I have the pleasure of introducing two new leaders in downtown Joliet. The first one is Pam Owens, who is the Executive Director of the City Center Partnership. Second person is Greg Peerbolt, who will be the new Executive Director of the Joliet Area Historical Museum. I had the pleasure of serving on both search committees that resulted in Pam and Greg coming to Joliet. Both are coming with great qualifications and, more importantly, a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm to help lead us in our downtown revitalization efforts and keeping the museum as the repository of the great history of Joliet. What I'd like to do is invite Pam to the podium and have her introduce herself to the mayor and city council. I know some of you already had a chance to meet Pam, but thought it'd be nice for her to come in and introduce herself.
May have to lower the microphone a little bit. Good evening, everyone. I'm now beginning my third week in Joliet, and I'm so excited to be here. I've give you a little bit of my background. I've been in downtown development for about 10 years now. First with a very, very small community, Orion, Illinois, which is my hometown, and then most recently working for the city of Moline. We had a municipal Main Street program. When I came in, it was a 501c3, and we created a special service district in our downtown. And then because we worked so closely with the city's economic development department, and to save a lot of expense for our organization, we pulled the city, or the program, into the city of Moline. And I've been so excited to watch that downtown grow, especially utilizing the special service funds, and with the cooperation of the business owners. We really saw downtown as a place that when I came in 5 years ago, really literally had every other business was vacant, to now it being really the place to do business, not only in the city of Moline, but in the Quad City area. We had businesses relocating to our downtown from other communities. And I do not give myself the credit for that, although I was the Main Street director. It took a huge amount of cooperation from the city staff and from the business owners downtown, as well as countless volunteers. And when I was asked to consider this position in Joliet, I honestly was not looking to leave my job, because I was very happy where I was, and had lived in the same house in Moline, or in Orion, where I grew up, for about 25 years. So I was intrigued, though, with Joliet, and I really can't tell you why. But the first time I came here for the initial interview, I promised my family, if I see any red flags, I'm walking away from this. And I came here, and I was so impressed by the commitment of the board members that interviewed me, the thoroughness of their interview questions. And I did a lot of driving around, and I was impressed with this downtown, and the architecture and the history of this community reminded me so much of where I was coming from in Moline, where we had a community that relied very heavily on an industry that was no longer thriving, and they had to look for ways to diversify and ways to do things differently to become a thriving community again. And so I was intrigued by that, and as the process moved forward, and I made several visits to Joliet, I think each time I came away a little bit more in love with this community. And the decision, when it came time to make the decision, there was no decision to make. I knew this was the place where I was supposed to be. And like I say, I've been here for about 3 weeks now, and there has not been one moment that I have doubted that I'm in the right place. So I'm really excited, and there's a million things I would like to do immediately, but I know it's a little bit of a slowdown process at this point. But thank you very much for your support of downtown and Joliet City Center Partnership, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you.
Mr. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if I could ask Greg to come to the podium and introduce himself to the mayor and council and to the city of Joliet.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I would like to introduce myself to you on my first official day as the museum director of the Joliet Area Historical Museum. I, like Pam, am extremely thrilled to be here. A bit of my background: I grew up in nearby, just down the road in Kankakee, Illinois. I have three generations of my family who have lived and worked in Joliet. In many ways, this is an ancestral home for me, so I jumped at the opportunity to be here. A bit about my background: I attended college at Illinois State University, where I studied history. I have professional certifications from Northwestern University in museum studies and philanthropy and nonprofits, as well as a professional certificate in artifact collection care from the University of Chicago. I served 2 years as a curator of collections at the Kankakee County Museum, after which I have recently completed almost 5 years as the executive director of the Mount Prospect Historical Society in northwest suburban Mount Prospect, where I also served on the board of directors for the Downtown Merchants Association. Again, I'm so excited to be here to not only lead the museum, but to be a part of the community of Joliet. One of the accomplishments that I'm quite proud of leaving Mount Prospect was raising our museum's community profile, and not only dealing in the past, but taking a role in the present and the future of the community. I also very much hope to do that here in Joliet. I will close by saying that a museum is only as good as the community that supports it. We have a great museum. We enjoy great support from this council, and I hope to continue and strengthen our working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I know that Pam's had a chance to meet with several of our city employees, neighborhood services, police department, other departments, and I know they've all reported back to me how energized Pam is. I know when we interviewed Greg, he came in with a file folder full of things for us to do, so I was very impressed with that. Very well prepared, and both Pam and Greg, actually Pam already lives in Joliet. Her family will be following whenever they're able to sell their house in the Quad Cities area, and then Greg is in the process of moving to Joliet and looking forward to being a big part of downtown, so looking forward to working with them. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we've got 3 presentations. If I could have Linda Lasota from Joliet Hope Center come forward.
Hello, good evening, Mayor. I hope you're healing well after your surgery.
I certainly am. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me here. Thank you, Bob, for the invite. Hands of Hope of Illinois is a faith-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it was actually started when God put on the heart of an owner of a small trucking business here in Joliet to use his business to help network food, household supplies, medical supplies, building materials to help the less fortunate. Woody Stiltner Jr. has been doing just that since 1999. Hands of Hope of Illinois was incorporated in 2007, and last year we gave away 40 million pounds of food. 90% of that was here in the U.S., 10% abroad. We aid in disaster relief. We were there to help out after Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast. We were there in Haiti after the earthquake. But we do a lot right here locally. This is one of the food giveaways that we just had recently in January, where over 800 cars, it's a drive-through giveaway, 800 cars came through, they pop open their trunks, our volunteers fill it with food and water, and they drive off. What we decided to do, after we had learned of another program that's actually having great progress in Central Florida. If I may share from the Bible, the Apostle Paul, when he was sharing hope and sharing Jesus with others in the street, he was put in prison and he was put in chains and shackles. And at his midnight hour, he was singing and praising to God. And suddenly the earth shook and Paul was freed. Well, there's several families and individuals right now right here in Joliet and our surrounding communities that are struggling in their midnight hour. And suddenly, a Hope Center opened up in the great city of Joliet. So we've been open since March 23rd. And what the Hope Center is, it is a community assistance program that provides greatly discounted food and household items to people who are struggling right now to fulfill their needs. It's a long-term self-sufficiency solution. So rather than that family waiting in line at a food bank or at a food giveaway event and receiving a box of, they have no idea what's going to be inside, they can come now to the Hope Center. They could fill out a short application. There is an annual membership fee of $5, and they can come in, and now they can shop just like everybody else. They can grab a cart, they can go through, if you would imagine a mini wholesale club, except this isn't a store, it's not a food bank, it's actually a program. So families can come now, and they can choose what they want. And all they're required to do is to pay an established contribution towards the cost, which is very minimal. We have items in the Hope Center that range from 10 cents on up. Families are filling their carts for $20, and they're ecstatic. We just got set up with the link card, so that's increasing that's helping more families in the area. The Hope Center is available to families both in Will County and other counties as well. It's regardless of city or county, so everyone is welcome. Our goal is to one day have discounted medical and dental care as well. We already have 2 dentists that are willing to contribute towards that. But you can see here, it looks just like a mini wholesale club, and seniors love it. They're on a fixed income. Single moms, working families. This is not just for the struggling poor, but this is also for the working poor as well. We are having a grand opening event Saturday, July 13th. You all have your invitations there before you, and we would love for you to be there to celebrate with us. It would be great to see the city of Joliet be known as the City of Hope. We're about to start a hero campaign. We're ready to launch a hero campaign where churches, businesses, or individuals can purchase these 2 vouchers, $25, which will help a family for a whole week or longer. $5 will take care of their membership for the year, and $20 will probably fill their basket with plenty of food. We also have a prayer and healing room inside the center. We play very uplifting music, and we see the faces when they come through the doors. They're long faces, they're hopeless, they're hurting. And when they come through the door, they share with us their circumstances, and we do our best to encourage everyone, and we do offer prayer. And when you see the people leave, they're leaving with smiles. They really are lifted. And that's what this is all about. It's about building people back up. Rather than a free handout, this is a hand up. So it's really making huge difference. We have some high school students that come on their spring break, and they volunteer, and they encourage people, and it's just been an amazing difference, and it is a solution, and I think that's what it takes. It takes communities working together, people working together to make the change that I think we're all longing to see. So I thank you so much for having me here to share, and I invite you all to come out and visit our center. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, and I would love for you to all come and see it. I'm sure you'll be pleased.
Linda, could you give the address, please?
Yes, it is at 511 Oak Leaf Court, Joliet. And Charles Sharp owns the 2 warehouses that we use, and he has just been wonderful in helping us, and he's been very lenient with the rent because he sees the good that we're doing for the community. We help churches as well. churches can come to our warehouse at the Hands of Hope warehouse and receive free food twice a month, and regardless of what city they're in. People who need to serve community service hours can come and serve and volunteer with us. So we have the unemployment office right now, public aid, senior services, Catholic Charities are all handing out our information. And so many people don't even know we exist. So we really need to get the word out so people can come and experience some relief. Thank you. Any other questions?
That's July 13th, 9:45 to 11.
Yes, 9:45 to 11.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the next item is a presentation from the Hospitality Guru Group regarding the Hotel Conference Center at Humboldt Road and Interstate 80. The Zoning Board of Appeals had an opportunity to review the proposal as it relates to some variances that were requested regarding height and signage and a few other minor variances. The ZBA had approved the variances for this project. There's still a plat approval that needs to come back before the City Council. We believe that'll be coming back to you at your July, it's either first or second meeting, the first meeting in July. And that's working its way through the system now. We'll go to the Plan Commission. But since this is such a significant project, and I know there have been a lot of questions from the mayor and council regarding it, and from the public regarding the project, we thought we'd invite the two of the proprietors, the principals in the investment group that will be developing the property and managing the property, Sanjeev Marota and Sejal Patel, and both are present. And what we'd like to do is have them give you a brief presentation of how the project will look. And I'll call Sanjeev and Sejal to the podium. Ben will help us with the PowerPoint presentation.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name
Welcome.
is Sejal Patel. Thank you. It's a very nice room, by the way. Didn't realize it was renovated. It's very nice.
Thank you.
It's my partner, Sanjeev Marotra.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
We'll just wait until this.
Good.
So we are, we're a hotel operator and owners. We have several properties in the Midwest. And we've been working on developing some property here in the Chicagoland area for a couple of years. And we've looked at several sites in the Chicagoland area and have been strongly looking at the Joliet market for quite some time. I don't know if this will.
Speak into the microphone. There
Okay.
you go. Thank you.
So we are located in Aurora. Our primary focus is owning and operating hotels, and we do manage the hotels as well. So we are a very hands-on group. We're not a developer that comes in and flip projects and leaves. So we will be there and we'll be managing the properties. We're spread out over 4 states currently. And we always seek to do a high-level project. I mean, that is something that my partner and I and others in our group, we enjoy doing. We work hard to do it, and we always want to be the leader in the marketplace. We're not a group that's interested in doing a project for the sake of doing a project. We want to do something that we're proud of. And I'll quickly go through an example. This is a property we purchased 5 years ago, and we turned it into an award-winning project. And not a lot of people would look at that building and do what we did, but we actually enjoyed it. It was a very tough project, and that's sort of what we do. We also have another property in Janesville, Wisconsin, that we're going to do something similar to, and this is the sort of the proposed outcome. So, and we like I said, we work with designers and architects and vendors from all over the area to help us with these projects. So we're looking at a site, if everybody's familiar with it, it's at Rock Creek Business Park. And we've been working with them for quite some time as one of our potential sites. We've also looked at Romeoville and New Lenox, and so we've looked at several areas in the Chicagoland, in the surrounding areas. So our proposed site, as you can see there, may be hard to see, is right next to the sort of the triangular shaped retention pond. And it's right off of the Hubolt Road exit off of I-80. These are some of the businesses that are currently at that exit. And so we look to really enhance, this exit in general. I mean, we've looked at a lot of sites, and this is a very good site, and has a lot of good opportunity, and has some strong competition as well. So when we first looked at this project, we were looking at about 5 acres to do this development, and the development would be 2 hotels. And through our due diligence, which has been very focused, we actually found out we need more land to do this properly. I mean, I think we could have sort of made this work within 5 acres or so, but in order for us to do it right, we felt like we needed the extra land. And we are going to use that detention as a feature for the site, which I think will be quite nice. So this is currently how the project sits. It's 2 hotels combined, physically connected. It's a Holiday Inn and a Candlewood Suites. And it'll also have a restaurant and a conference center. And we've, doing our research and talking to people in Joliet, the Holiday Inn typically has a smaller conference space, and we found that there could be an opportunity to do a larger conference space here that would be helpful to the city. So we've been looking at options for that as well. So this plan currently has 200 rooms, a full-service restaurant, and about 400 parking spots. And you can see how we took that sort of the land in the back there into consideration. And again, you can see the connection to the pond there. We did not want to put parking in between the building and the pond, so that people could literally walk out of the building and take advantage of the nice site feature. So these are some very preliminary elevations, and we have to work with the brand, and they're very strict about how they want their buildings to look for obvious reasons, mainly for brand integrity. But this is a snapshot of what the buildings will look like. One will be 5 stories, one will be 4 stories. And this is the side elevation, which will be the entrance to the conference center. And these are some preliminary renderings that we've done, showing the drive up to the front entrance. So this is coming off of Hubolt onto Rock Creek Boulevard and turning in. This is the check-in entrance canopy. This could be this is the entrance to the conference center. And then a rendering of the back showing the connection to the water feature. And so on the back you'll have a pool, you'll have the deck for the restaurant, access to the lobby, the conference center. So one of the challenges of this project has been there's no back of the building, so to speak. There's no loading dock. So we want every single side of this building to be attractive, and we hope to maintain it that way. So this is what the total site will look like once it's constructed. And so we've all worked really hard. We're not a big company. We're a small family company, and we've worked really hard to get it to this point. But we have a lot of work to do, and we're thrilled to team up with Joliet and do a project like this. And I think that's it.
Just a couple of words. I live in Will County, live in Naperville, and when I started looking at the project here, initially our intent was to do a smaller hotel or a project, but as we discussed things with the city officials and the community and did some more research, what we found out was there was a need of a nicer facility with the conference center that the city was looking for. And that's how the project evolved into what it is. And we work very closely with the city officials and other members that we work with during the research process. And that's how we came up with something that we feel like would be a very, very nice thing that would help bring in a lot of business that goes to a lot of other cities because we don't have a facility like this that we lose to. So, thank you very much.
How many people will the conference center hold?
We are contemplating having about 11 to 12,000 square feet of conference center space. So we can hold, depending on how and what kind of setting we will have, anywhere between 400 to 600 people.
All right.
That's the size if we are doing like a banquet style setting.
Anybody else questions?
What is your timing on this project? Thought about that?
We are working, it's in a very initial stage. As you can see, we're working on a few things. As we get approvals on certain things, we'll start making moves. Initially, we were contemplating breaking ground this year, but we are a little bit behind on getting certain things move forward. So as soon as we get those approval, if it doesn't break ground this year, we'll definitely be looking at the spring of 2014.
Anybody else?
I want to thank you for coming to Joliet instead of my good friends over there in Romeoville.
We actually have a land on I-55 and Weber Road that we bought on Romeoville. But we liked this site, and we worked with the city official. We said, we'll do the project here first.
You won't be sorry, believe me, you won't be sorry.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there are some business items I would like to address before Sanjeev and Sejal depart. This is a competitive market, as you know, and this is a product that we have long sought. We miss out on a lot of conferences that go to the Quad Cities, Peoria, Springfield, other places where they have a hotel conference center complex where you can have a large room for the entire group to meet, but also breakout rooms so you can divide the larger group into smaller groups for smaller sessions. And that's when we've been working on this over the past 7 or 8 months. We've been talking about trying to get into that market. That market is very competitive. Some of the organizations that you belong to are probably booked through 2015 already as far as their future annual conferences. And these are conferences that ideally start on a Tuesday and end on a Thursday or go Monday through Wednesday that bring people to Joliet from all parts of the state or Midwest and then keep them here so they can rent a hotel room, eat at our restaurants or at the banquet center, and then spend a few dollars at the casino, we hope, and a few other places in town. So this is a very competitive market, and for that reason, we had to get into the incentive package agreement. And I know I'm going to share with you some preliminary numbers of what we have been requested to approve by the developer. And let me run through it so you can digest it. And by the time this comes back to you in July, there would be a formal agreement that would outline this, but I wanted to get this before you this evening so you have some time to think about it and respond to it. Actually, during the first 3 years, there would be a 100% hotel tax rebate. We currently charge 7% per room for a city hotel tax. $100 room, $7 goes to the city of Joliet. There's also a 6% state hotel tax that goes to the state of Illinois. That's not being touched or discussed as part of this conversation. It's just the city portion. So that would be rebated to the developer for the first 3 years. During years 4 and 5, there would be a 70% rebate. In years 6 through 10, a 60% rebate. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but right now we're not generating anything off of this property. It's a vacant piece of property, and the hope is that the loss, and I won't say loss, the reduction in sales tax that we're agreeing to as part of the rebate or the hotel tax will come back to us in the form of other sales that'll take place in the city of Joliet. We also have a 1% food and beverage tax and a 1 3/4% home rule sales tax that will attach to food sales at the banquet center and the hotel's restaurant. We are hoping, we've been working with Sanjeev and Sejal for a national brand restaurant to go in the facility. There are some that are interested in that arrangement. We've also talked about some locals that might have some interest in the facility, but this would be a full sit-down, full-service restaurant that you see in higher-end hotels. What's being proposed is a similar arrangement for the food and beverage tax and home rule sales tax, and that would be for the restaurant, a 100% rebate years 1 through 3, 70% years 4 and 5, and 60% in years 6 through 10. And on the banquet center, we would work with them on a similar rebate for the first 5 years. The banquet business will be the tough business to get started because you do have to go out and bring the business from other banquet facilities throughout the state of Illinois, but we do think it's something that marketing this jointly between the city and the hotel management, the hotel operator, we think we can put a very good case together to bring a lot of the higher-end conferences to Joliet rather than seeing them go to Galena, Quad Cities, Springfield, other places. So that's the goal. Our buy-in is basically going to be, and if you total up for the entire 10-year period, it's a $2.4 million incentive. The value of the investment is approximately $18 million, so it's a significant portion of the investment that will be coming back to the developers over that 10-year period. But we believe that a lot of the dollars will be used for marketing, because this is a business that requires a lot of marketing to be able to attract the higher-end conferences that have 200 or 300 people attend. The benefit for the other hotels at the interchange is if this one sells out, those are the first ones that fill up during that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday through Thursday cycle. So I just wanted to share that information with you, make sure that we're on the right track in our negotiations, and if you think we need to fine-tune it in a particular direction, let us know. If you have some reaction now, that's fine. If you think you want to wait and work with me one-on-one, that's fine too. But we would like to have this ready for approval at the first meeting in July.
Thank you. Jan, you had some comments?
I just want to say welcome to Joliet. This has been long overdue, so thank you for choosing us to put your conference center in.
You're most welcome, and we're glad to be here too, because we worked with some wonderful people in the city and the staff that was very, very helpful. So it's nice to be here. I'm pretty sure, this thing will be a great thing that we can help go market. That's what we specialize in. We go in the 100 to 150 mile radius and market, and that's what we are going to partner with the city to go market the city and the facility and bring the business in for those type of things with the conferences and that. And a lot of times what happens is the hotel tax is an extra thing that goes to the CVB for tourism promotion. That's what the hotel tax is used for. And that's what we are asking, that if we can work together, we can go ahead and ramp up and bring, as much business to the city. That would be definitely helpful if we can work in partnership there.
Your Honor?
Oh, Mike.
Just one thing. Yeah, welcome to Joliet, and we're all happy you're here. I might have missed that from Councilman Girl. I was looking at something else. The time frame, as far as I know it's very preliminary right now, but everything moves through, the incentives and everything else. When do you think we'd see construction starting?
As I said, initially we were contemplating breaking ground yet this year.
Okay.
But we are slightly behind in getting everything. If we still are able to, we will shoot for October. A worst case scenario, if you're not able to before the winter hits, then we'll be breaking ground in the spring of 2014. And this is a big project. It's going to be $18 to $20 million is what we are estimating right now. And I'm looking at about 14 to 15 months of completion on this project.
Great. Thank you.
I assume it's going to be local union tradespeople?
Yes, we've talked about it, and certainly getting as many local contractors involved in the project. They have engaged a builder, and Mr. Picorni, I believe it is, who will be your consultant, construction manager, I believe, right, who's been building in Will County for, I think, 3 decades, so he certainly understands, Will County construction. So I was pleased to hear that. Also, we've talked about a strong partnership with Joliet Junior College, the Hospitality Management Department. That is very, very strong, and that this will certainly be a great opportunity for a lot of the students there to get firsthand experience in a quality facility as interns, employees, and possibly managers later on. So those connections will be made as we get into this project a little further.
Very good.
That
Thank
is
you.
correct.
I would
Thank
like to
you.
add the image that's shown on the screen. That property is 40 years old, and the person who built that, the son, is still employed by us, and he's a contractor, and he still does work for this building. Our philosophy is we start from ground zero and get people involved starting from the building. So a lot of people that were involved in this building 40 years ago are still there and working there.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, next item on the agenda is a presentation by the interim Chief Executive Officer of the Joliet Housing Authority, Michael Simulton. Mr. Simulton.
For the record, I asked Michael to be here because there were some questions that come up about the Housing Authority, and somebody made the statement that they have received phone calls. Are the board members here from the Housing Authority? Would you please stand? Okay, thank you for coming. Michael?
Greetings, Mr. Mayor, and to the council, members of the council. My name is Michael Simulton. As the mayor said, I'm the interim CEO of the Housing Authority of Joliet. Mr. Mayor, it's good to see you up and about.
It's good to be
Good
up
to see
and
you.
about.
As interim CEO of the Housing Authority, I've been charged with the oversight. I know there's some concern about who's the oversight of the Housing Authority, so I'm in charge of the oversight of the day-to-day operation at the Housing Authority, which has required me to make some difficult but timely decisions in improving the physical operation of the Housing Authority. During my tenure, the Housing Authority has made significant improvements through development and implementation of the goals and objectives that was set forth or depicted in that 2013 Recovery and Sustainability Agreement and Action Plan. I would be remiss if I did not say that this was not done alone in terms of us making all of these significant improvements as it relates to the agency. The mayor asked the board members to stand, and just want to give you their name. You have Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Asher, Commissioner Mead, Commissioner Bias, and the Housing Authority Attorney Eric Hansen. But some of the people that's been assisting me with this recovery effort, one gentleman is out on leave. His name is Mark Jakowski. He's our asset manager over our public housing development, all of the sites, the Fairview Homes, Des Plaines Garden, a couple of the high-rise buildings that you know of, the Murphy Kennedy Building, John O. Holmes Building. And we have Tina, who's going to have to leave in a minute, but I wanted you to put a face with the name.
Tina, would you stand up?
Tina, please stand. Tina is right now acting as our Section 8 coordinator. We had Ms. Johnson, who was a long-term employee of the Housing Authority, retire, and Tina is filling in until we make a decision about that position. You have Charlene Potts. Can you please stand, Charlene? Charlene is our new CFO. Charlene, what was your effective date of hire? Thank you. And working along with Charlene is Linda Lee, who's very bashful, seems like today. Linda is like an assistant or accounts and finance manager, right? Got it right. All right. Thank you. So I'm here to acknowledge that the Housing Authority, again, has made some significant strides in meeting the requirements as spelled out in the recovery agreement. There was the the agreement that this council voted on. And then as a part of that agreement, you had what you call an action plan. This action plan was a meeting of the minds, along with HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. They had a FARS team that came out. They sat down with us, along with the mayor and myself and 2 commissioners. We sat down and we banged out the action plan with dates of when things would be accomplished. And again, I'm happy to report that we have made significant gain in meeting those demands. May I, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. Maybe you have somebody passing over.
I will. Good, how are you? You and I can share.
Thank you. What's being passed around is just a checklist of the items that were spelled out in the action plan that needed to be completed. What you see in the left column are check marks of items that have been completed. Then you have the item numbers. Then you have the submission of items that's required. And then you have the delivery dates of those items. This is kind of what the recovery and action plan looks like. I'm gonna pass it out and let you look at it. Again, you have the item numbers, the results of the determination in their assessment, meaning when the FARS team from HUD came out, they did an assessment and they itemized the items that they found that were wrong with the agency. Then they posted the desired outcome. What is it that you need to do in order to improve? Then there were baseline dates and scores as of 9/30/2011. You're going to see that they're going to show out of a possible 100 points, we scored a 55, and we're going to be discussing that a little bit later. This is one of the items. The other item will be our FAST score, and I'll explain that later. Then you have the required scores, what they would like to see us. Where would they like us to be in a year or so? And then you have the target accomplished date, the actual accomplished date, and then they offered up some remedies if the housing authority does not comply. And then they had comments and accomplishments. This is what was negotiated with HUD and the mayor and myself and 2 board members sometime in 2012. I believe it was around November, am I right in that date, Mr. Mayor? And I'm gonna let you take a look.
It was a long meeting.
It was a long meeting. I want you to just take a look at this document. And all I've done with the document that you have is kind of summarize what it is that we've accomplished. So if you go to your little checklist, it talked about training plan for the Board of Commissioners, and that was internal training as well as external. The Housing Authority belongs to an insurance group, and that insurance group provides insurance to housing authorities. A lot of housing authorities, not just the Joliet Housing Authority. What you had housing authorities kind of in crisis back in the early 80s. And the housing authorities were bad risk to a lot of insurance companies. So they formulated this housing insurance group, and it's specifically for housing authorities. And the services that they offer to us is automobile, workers' comp, liability insurance, property insurance, and then they give all of the staff and board members life insurance policy. Now, one of the other things that they offer is something called Housing Television Network. we can go to that site and we can orchestrate a training session free of charge because we are a subscriber to this organization. So what we discovered is that they offer a lot of training that we can take advantage of. And the reason that we're seeking this avenue in terms of training is the Housing Authority's financial situation was not very good. And we need to look at some other alternative for training. So this company offers training. I mean, it covers every aspect of our agency in terms of training. Basic plumbing, electrical, new commissioner's orientation, which is on the document. So we're going to take full advantage of this because a lot of the stuff that they offer is free to us. And some of it is you will receive certification as if you test well. So that was the first item on that document that you have. The second document is the board has to create a performance standard. It's not due yet, and that's why you see it's in progress because the board still have yet to appoint a CEO. Again, you recognize me as the interim CEO. They still have to appoint, and what HUD is hoping is that once you do appoint one, that you develop a measurable way of tracking or monitoring your CEO. Item number 3, I mean, it was completed like ASAP. We needed an updated annual contribution contract, and that is an agreement between us and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We executed that right away. Item G4, a comprehensive vacant reduction plan. Well, we implemented in April of 2013, and I'm gonna report on that too when we get toward the bottom. On how that action plan is progressing. Item G6, update our personnel policy, our nepotism policy to address the concerns that HUD had with nepotism that was occurring at the agency. And I'm happy to report that all staff has executed and disclosed to us any relatives that work for the Housing Authority, any relatives they have on the Section 8 program, any business interests they might have. So all employees were required to fill this document out, and it was submitted to HUD. What I'm going through now, it was actually good timing because these documents were requested from HUD less than a week ago. And they were delivered to them via internet. Item SG1, proper administration of the low rent public housing using asset management. Some time ago, HUD went to this new form of managing public housing. They wanted every one of our developments to kind of stand on their own. As it stands now, that budget-wise, all resources from those developments went into one pot, and we were able to manage that way. Now HUD is saying, no, you guys need to make sure that those things are separate. Each AMP, like Fairview has to function on its own. Des Plaines has to function on its own. Each one of your high-rise buildings have to function independently, and they wanted very good oversight at those developments with people who have the knowledge and the skill to implement asset management, meaning at the AMP level or at the management level, they want them to introduce ideas for their budget, and they want them to be involved in the budget process. So that's what they like to see. SG2, recovery of the 2 core programs. We have a couple of programs that the Housing Authority operates. And one of them is the low rent public housing, Fairview and all of those that I talked about. Then you have the Section 8 program where tenants can find units somewhere in the community. Those are our 2 core programs. The other program that we operate is called Capital Fund. And those funds are actually used to operate or used to update things at our high rise and at our family sites when things go wrong. Money is used for like capital improvements. So in essence, we have like 3 core programs, and that's what they were getting at. They wanted us to focus on those core programs because once they did their assessment of of our agency, they concluded that we were substandard financially. And when they put that label on us, we had to discontinue any outside activity. So no longer could we pursue doing phase 3 at Liberty Metals. We had just finished phase 1 a couple of years ago. We had just finished phase 2. So they wanted us to stop until we get all of our core programs in order before we proceed ahead with phase 3. Development of an employee training program, providing effective employment evaluation, updating current job descriptions. All of those items are in progress. Once they went through those items, they felt that we needed to update them, and that's what we're working on. Update the organizational structure. Once we made a lot of changes within the organization, they required an updated organizational structure, which they do have. It's a check mark, they do have. Then they asked that we form a finance committee within our board to review financials prior to board meetings and be able to report. I'm happy to announce that 3 of our commissioners have agreed, and I know we got to watch the Open Meetings Act, so we're going to be on a rotating basis that the 3 will show up and we will go through our operating budget and our budget every month prior to the board meeting. And we're hoping to ratify that at our June 12th board meeting, where they're going to be officially, I guess, installed. Madam Chair, you know what? Oh my God, she's going to kill me.
You're right.
I announced all the commissioners, and I forgot our Madam Chairman.
You're in trouble now.
I know. Can I? Let's go to lunch tomorrow. let's do lunch tomorrow.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, we gonna do lunch, right? I'm sorry.
Still don't know
I'm
what
sorry.
you missed
Back to our list. I'm gonna do a couple of these items together. Keep and update accounting records, finance statements readily available to the board for review, update our internal control policy. All of those items have been completed. The board is actually getting financial statements monthly. And in fact, one of the requirements that's not on here is we are submitting this, the financial statements to our local HUD office to demonstrate that board members are getting financials. And also the mayor's office has requested financial information. And then it says they wanted copies of all termination of employees, all payroll positions that were eliminated was submitted to the HUD office. And then I don't know why it's on there twice. The internal control document is there twice, but they requested it. We put it in there twice for them. Again, update the organizational structure, again, to show that we're no longer performing those activities that are not a part of our core program. And then develop the development of an effective procurement and inventory program. Well, we have an effective procurement and inventory program, but they just want us to make some changes to it, so we'll do so, and we're seeking out proposals from companies that will actually assist you with setting up your inventory with a barcode and that kind of thing. And that particular item is really not due until September of this year. And then finally, PS3, the implementation of an effective program to reduce unit turnaround time and update, lease up time to improve our time. When HUD came in and did their audit, and this was a part of the action plan that they wanted done, they noticed that our turnaround time was at 107 days. And there's a logical reason for that. Some of it rests at the foot of the housing authorities and staff's ability to perform. But we had vacated Fairview with the hopes of demolishing Fairview. And when we rescinded our application for demolition, we had to go back in and rehab those units. So it took us quite a bit of time to rehab those units, like it's depicted here, 107 days. Well, by the end of 2012, we were down to 70.0 days, and we are currently, when you look at that document, HUD wanted us at about 54 days turnaround time. That's the time it become vacant to the time you lease it up. So we're right on target. They're expecting us to be at or below that number by June 30th. We're right now at 49.13 days. So this kind of ties in with our G4, a comprehensive vacancy reduction plan at the AMP, so it kind of ties together. So I stand before you confident that we are on target, on time with our deliverables to the HUD office. Staff has been very diligent, and that's on top of your day-to-day stuff you got to get done to keep our heads above water. And again, there was some difficult things I had to do, difficult and timely things we had to do in order to improve our physical condition financially at the Housing Authority. We had great hopes until around March, and I shared this with the mayor, is that's when the sequestration kicked in. And they determined that we were only entitled to about 79 at the time % subsidy as opposed to 92. And it's a formula driven, and Congress approves how much you get every year. Well, when that sequester kicked in, that meant that we had to make some more difficult decisions. We had to look at those areas that were HUD deemed as non-essential, and that's not to belittle any position, but it wasn't deemed as core to what we do, public housing, Section 8. So anything that you did at the Housing Authority, other than that, was not deemed as core related, and which required that we cut some people, and that included union positions as well as managerial positions. And I'm here to tell you that I had some long-standing relationships with some of these people. It was the most difficult thing I had to do, but it was the most very important that we do it in order to improve the financial situation of the Housing Authority. And I thank you for your time.
Any questions?
One question.
Sure.
Mr. Simulton,
Yes, sir.
the red check marks, certainly it means that they've been addressed.
Yes.
Does it also mean that each of those red check marks have been addressed with the final approval of HUD saying it's done right?
Excellent question. They have this document. I'm going to hold the documents up to you. This is what was submitted to them. Okay? And they said within a week or two, they're going to advise us on how we stand. A lot of these documents was in their possessions, I think beginning back in December. We were delivering stuff to them, but once you executed that agreement, they had us to resubmit them everything that even what I've submitted in the past, resubmit it and give us about 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll let you know if it's acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Question. I have a question. Just a maintenance issue.
Yes, ma'am.
I was up by Liberty Meadows, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, And I noticed that when you go into, it's just a beautiful, beautiful subdivision.
Thank you.
And the houses are kept very neat and the lawns are nice. But then when you went just to the north of the subdivision, there was garbage all over, there were weeds, the grass was very long, and I did call, I don't think he's here, Alfredo Malesio.
Yes.
Neighborhood Services, and I asked him, why is one part of the subdivision so neat and pristine, and the other part such a mess? Can you address that?
I can address some of it. I can tell you this, in the north quadrant and the south, it was relatively young grass, fresh grass. So we were allowing that to kind of grow. And secondly, we did not have a contract in place to cut that grass. So we asked the current contractor who was cutting phase 1, and his price was a little bit high. So we had to seek another contractor to cut the north and the south. And I can report to you today that it's done.
No, I know it's done, but I was just wondering why it took me to have to
Yeah.
call Neighborhood Services to do
Well,
that.
I think it was already in progress, to be honest with you. It's just the timing of it
Quite
is.
long.
Yeah. And I take responsibility for that.
Okay, so there's a something in place now for maintenance.
Yes, ma'am, it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
Anybody else? Mike?
Your Honor. Now, will HUD come back out and do a physical inspection, or they just review the documents you sent them? They were on site before to do their audit, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then will they come out and do a reassessment, or will that be a part of their next audit?
I have not heard that, but they have proposed that they're going to come down and do training with the commissioners. You know, I'm in constant communication with, and you might hear this name, Patrick Kano, who's one of the analysts at the HUD office, and updating on him on how things are progressing and how we're doing. But I have not heard that they will come back to do an inspection.
Okay.
In fact, they're taking a lot of furloughs days up there at that HUD office. And just so you know, you're probably getting phone calls, I know you are, but our housing authority is not exempt from the furloughs. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to have staff that contribute to the benefits plan. Right now, the housing authority pays 100%. We're gonna have to ask staff to contribute to our health plan. And they're gonna have to take furlough days in order for us to get our budget in order. We made a lot of cuts, but we have to get extremely healthy and extremely lean.
Your Honor, just two more quick questions.
Sure.
You mentioned that the housing authority received a grade of 55, I
Oh,
think it was,
yes.
right?
Yes.
I know the higher the number, the better. And I
Yes.
don't know if 90 is great or what, but what is considered acceptable in housing authorities?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because they have something called Public Housing Assessment System. This is a tool that's designed to, as an oversight for HUD users, as an oversight to measure the performance of housing authorities. And they have like 4 components. They have the physical inspections indicator, they have the financial condition indicator, they have a management operating indicator, then they have a resident satisfaction and service indicator. So those 4 tools are what they use to do an assessment of the housing authority. So in order for you to receive a high performer, you need to be at 90% or higher score. For to be a standard performer, you need to be at 60% to 89%. And because we failed financially, we are what you call substandard performer, because we failed one of the 3 categories that I named: the physical, the financial, management. Because we failed one of them, we are classified as substandard performer, and we were classified as substandard financially. So that's regardless of what your score is. If you fail 60% of one of those items, at 60% of one of those items, you're going to be labeled as a substandard performer. Then anything below 60 is troubled as an agency.
So then now, once you got all this submitted and everything, when will they rescore you? Will it be immediately, or will it be another year, or?
Well, let me share this document with you. I'm glad you brought this up. That's what happens when you make copies for yourself and you don't let your assistant do it, you come up short. So
Would you?
okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't want to.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, give me one, yeah, that's, thank you.
Okay. What you have in front of you is what I described, the public housing assessment system. And this was for fiscal year ending 6/30/2012. And what you have, you look at the score, physical, out of a max of 40 points, we got a 36. On the finance, out of a possible 25, this is on the first page again, on the first page. And what I'm talking about is the unaudited document. Management, we got 19 out of 25. Capital fund, we got 10 out of 10. And then we lost 5 points for late submission. And so out of 100 points, we got a 73. You go down below where it says that little date, 3/13/2012, you see financial score and detail. Well, in order for us to be financially okay in finance, we need to be at about a 15 or better. We're at 13.38. Everybody see that? And right above that is unaudited. Okay? Then the next document or the next item is capital fund scoring detail. And if you look at that, we got 10 out of 10 points. So if you go to the second page, remember the first one was the unaudited. The second page this document is the actual audited. We submitted our audit, and based on our audit, they said, this is your score. So we went from a 73 to a 72, and there was a deduction under finance for audit penalties. So when they came in and did an audit, they identified some items that we were deficient in, so they took away some points from us. And those items have been corrected. So, to answer your question, Councilman Turk, is that they showed, when they came in and did their audit, of a 55. Now we're at a 72. However, we're still financially substandard. So that's why they're still monitoring us at this point.
And you also have a CPA firm do your annual audit?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
which is
The
required.
name of the firm is Hawken Ash Baptiste out of Wisconsin. They do nothing but housing authority audits.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a
Sure.
question. Mike, and you may have to dumb it down a little bit for me. When you were saying the deficit, are you talking about before the sequestration?
Yes.
Okay. And what was it then at that point, before?
If you allow me, hope you don't hurt me. Charlene, can you come up? So she can share, because she had the pulse of the thing when it happened.
Well, in 2011, the COCC had a $1.4 million deficit, meaning that the COCC had spent more money than it had revenues coming in. Although we had money in the bank, we had overspent. 2012, we had a deficit of 1.2 million.
And you said I'm sorry.
The central office cost center. which is the call center that runs the Section 8 program and all the programs.
Remember, HUD says you need to set it up as an what did I say, asset management. So the COCC now has to bill those amps for fee for us to manage it. Does that make sense? We build the amps like Fairview, Des Plaines, the high-rise building. We build them, and they pay a fee.
They
to
pay
us.
a fee to the COC for us to run the program. So we get a bookkeeping fee of $7.50 per occupied unit. And we get a percentage, and it's deemed by HUD each year on how much we get as it would relate to a management fee to manage the property. So the central office call center had expended more money than it had.
Okay, now, this last paper that you gave us about the 72 points, that was for what year? 2012?
Yes.
Or 2011?
2012.
2012. 2011, the score was 55.
It was 55 in 2011. And then was there any actions took actions taken in 2011 to get you to the 72, I guess to get this money that wasn't billed for? Is that right? Am I saying that right? The money that I guess you were saying that wasn't billed from the amps. I was just trying to figure out how did HUD come in to put you on this watch list, I guess it's called, or is that right, watch list?
Yeah, the main issue was the audit. The audit, we have deadlines, a 60-day deadline. Once we close our fiscal year, the audit needs to be, the unaudited needs to be turned into HUD within 60 days year end of our fiscal year. That didn't happen in 2011. On the day that it was due, I was hired. I actually worked 6 months to complete a whole year of information, documentation, bank reconciliation, balance sheet reconciliation that had not been completed. So it took me 6 months to complete a year. It was submitted in April of 2012. So because it was late, we received 0 points in 2011 because the audit was not turned in on time.
Okay.
The reason why the score has increased is because we turned in our audit in on time.
For 2000?
For 2012, our unaudited and our audit. And so we were able to gain points that we did not receive in 2011.
One other thing, I was looking at the chart, the checklist. The finance committee, there never had been a finance committee prior. Am I reading that right, Mike? What number is that? F1, forming a finance committee within the board.
No, there was not a finance committee.
There had never been a finance committee prior to. Okay.
Just for clarification, the current board that represents the housing authority, is the majority the same current that it was back with the audit?
I'm sorry, say that again. Is the
Is
current?
the current serving board the same board that was serving back when this audit was completed by HUD?
Was the majority of it?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Just a couple questions. I mean, I think I have more questions than I did before you started your presentation, but just a couple things.
Then I didn't do well.
The documentation that you've been submitting to HUD, are your professionals looking at that? Is Mr. Hanson your professionals, your attorney, your audit firm? Are they reviewing this information before you send it to HUD, or is it just going through you?
It's going through me and the staff and the board.
So your professionals aren't looking at the documentation. You mentioned audited and unaudited numbers.
Some items, yeah, like the nepotism policy, for instance, it went to the attorney.
Okay.
The annual contribution contract went to the attorney. The attorney gets all of our financial statements, just like the board members.
Okay. With respect to your financial statements, you mentioned that you have an outside public accounting firm or outside CPA firm, that's working with you, that are issuing audited financial statements. But you're saying that these audited financial statements, or these statements, were issued 60 days late for some reason you missed the deadline with HUD, and that's what prompted the review? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, we select a new audit firm every 2 years. So the current audit firm that we have is a different audit firm from the year 2011, where they were late.
Because that's typically the job of the outside, or one of the responsibilities, I would assume, is to make sure that you're in compliance with all HUD requirements. Are they not doing that for you? And if they're not, I don't care if that's all they do, but they should be replaced too. It seems like,
Well, they were replaced.
So
The
this is
auditing
a new
This is
firm.
a new
The
firm.
new firm.
okay, very good, thank you.
Tim? No. Thanks, Michael.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. I just want to point one thing out. When I sat through this meeting with the members from HUD, I believe there was four members from HUD there. One of their major things was the late submittal of the audit. And it was my understanding that the audit was almost done. It's just that they didn't send it in. And so therefore you were docked points because of that. And I know that I've been in contact with members of that committee since then, and they are very happy with the progress that you have made over there. And
Thank
so
you.
Keep up the good work.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if we could return to the agenda then. I know we have agenda items to be heard, but I know we have citizens to be heard who are here to talk about the Electric Daisy Carnival, and if, with your permission, perhaps we could move them up so they don't have to wait any longer. What I'd like to do is just give a brief recap of a statement that we issued a week ago tomorrow, last Tuesday after the event. We certainly understood that Friday night caught everyone by surprise. It was very loud, and the music had transcended city limits and gone into New Lenox and Manhattan and Elwood and other towns. And we met with the promoter of the Electric Daisy Carnival on Saturday morning and made adjustments. I know some of those adjustments were very helpful for some. Others apparently didn't do the job. So what we said in our statement that we issued last Tuesday was that if the Electric Daisy Carnival were to come back to Joliet, we would certainly be working with them on hours of operation, noise levels, and then have that come back to the mayor and city council for final decision as to whether that would, whether the event would return to Joliet. We've not had any discussions about next year yet. We're still doing a review and an analysis of this year. A key piece of that, though, is the economic impact study that is being done to show what kind of economic impact the event had on Joliet and nearby communities, because a lot of the attendees shopped at places outside of Joliet, and they also went to restaurants and hotels outside of Joliet. So we'll be providing all of that to you once we are able to access sales tax numbers and things like that. The other thing, too, there was a lot of attention given over the weekend to the ambulance transport numbers. There really is no secret about that. It was actually about 0.05% of the attendees, that's 0.05% of the attendees were actually transported to local hospitals. A total of 30 runs for all 3 days, so about 10 per day. That number's a little bit higher than what we've seen for other big events in the community, but nothing that surprised anybody. I know that there was a question raised about whether somebody had passed away during the event, and the answer to that is no. There were no deaths related to this. We're not aware of any serious injuries. There were bumps and bruises and a few things like that, and there were a few people who needed some advanced care, and that's why they were transported. So we're glad to share that number with you. I think what we wanted to do is provide the entire picture, so the newspaper article didn't focus on just ambulance transports. That's a very, very small part. That's about 1 out of every 2,000 people who attended the event. So, for those of you who are concerned about the transparency of the ambulance report, we're happy to share that number. That number's 30. So with that, I know that there are some people that would like to address the mayor and city council. I don't know who all is here, but with your permission, I'll call them, Mr. Mayor, and
Sure.
have them come up. First one is Chuck Sukup from New Lenox.
Thank you for allowing me to speak here today.
9 miles away in a quiet suburb of New Lenox, you could hear the bass pumping from the Electric Daisy Carnival. My parents could hear it 12 miles away in Mokina. Thanks to the City of Joliet Council, this went on for 3 straight nights until 4 a.m. Mind you, the same concert ends at 11 p.m. in the city of New York, the city that never sleeps. The music doesn't need to be turned down at 10 or 11. It needs to be turned off. Your research consisted of sending 2 police officers to Las Vegas, located in the desert. Let me show you how the city of Chicago puts on a 3-day outdoor concert. Lollapalooza ends at 10 p.m. in Grant Park. Spring Awakening Music Fest ends at 11 p.m. at Soldier Field. Wavefront Music Fest ends at 10 p.m. at Montrose Beach. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. And in case you're wondering, I got all this information on this great invention called Google. Now, I've read your apology / excuse for this monstrosity, but bottom line, we all lost sleep, so the city of Joliet and a few area businesses can make a buck. Making money is not good at the expense of the rest of us. You can't compromise my quality of life to make a buck. Now, I've also read your so-called solutions for next year's event. Reconfiguring the speakers, containing the sound, lowering the volume. Okay? Stop dancing around the biggest issue. We need to end this thing at a reasonable time. Your profits won't change if you make this change. 4 a.m. is simply unacceptable, and you clearly made a rookie mistake. Don't make the same mistake in your second year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, next speaker is Robin Atkinson of Joliet.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you today. My name is Robin Atkinson. I'm a Joliet resident. I bought my home in 1986. I hear about the noise emissions from the Chicagoland Speedway. My family and I were aware of the concert, and we expected some traffic and really thought nothing more about it. There's been concerts at the track before. It's really been no big deal. On Friday night, our entire household was jolted awake at 1 a.m. The noise for the remainder of the night was loud, low-frequency throbbing. Saturday was the same issue at 3 a.m. Sunday was the worst. No one slept until 4 a.m. Our windows were closed, our fans were blowing, my wife had bought earplugs, nothing helped. Insomniac lived up to its company motto, wide awake since 1993. Our family usually attends the Memorial Day service at Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery. We did not this year. We were exhausted, we were sleeping and crabby. Noise emissions are regulated by the Environmental Protection Act. Just like wastewater and any other pollution, it set limits on the amount of noise emitted across property lines. I asked the City Council to support our formal complaint and request for hearing before the Illinois Pollution Control Board. We are requesting the Pollution Control Board require the Chicagoland Speedway to provide sound and vibration monitors in accordance with Part 910 of the Act. As this will be an annual event, sound monitors will be the best way to ensure the Chicagoland Speedway is in compliance with pollution limits. As the Environmental Protection Act states, environmental damage does not respect political boundaries. I think we've all experienced that firsthand. I ask the City Council to please protect its citizens from the harmful emissions from the Chicagoland Speedway. I beg the City Council, in the name of common decency, to let us sleep peacefully in our beds. I have some additional letters from folks who were unable to attend, if I could
Sure.
give those to you.
Hand them to
Thank you.
Krista, she'll pass them on. Give them to Krista, she'll pass them on.
Thank you very much.
The third speaker is Kristen Gassensmith of Elwood.
Mr. Mayor and honorable council members, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Kristen Gassensmith, and I am a lifelong resident of Will County. Like the previous speakers, I am here to voice my concerns about the Electric Daisy Carnival. Before I do that, though, I would like to commend the city of Joliet for finding additional forms of revenue. It's my understanding that the members of the Joliet Fire Department and the Joliet Police Department were paid overtime for their services at the carnival. If Insomniac Nation LLC does follow through on its contractual obligations, what an amazing opportunity to earn extra money in this rough economy. Prior to Memorial Day weekend, the Chicagoland Speedway was an excellent neighbor to this wonderful community. If there was an event at the racetrack in Elwood, I could hardly hear it. Previous to living in Elwood, I lived in Mokina and Joliet. The Electric Daisy Carnival, however, changed my feelings about Chicagoland Speedway. It was stated in numerous media outlets that after complaints the city of Joliet received, the sound was lowered by 33%. Did anyone do a sound impact study on Friday night and again on Saturday night to verify this? Or is the city taking the word of Insomniac Nation LLC? While local media outlets were there Saturday night, the bass was softer, but as soon as they, the media, and some council members to my understanding left, I assure you the bass and the music was turned up. Many people that attended the concert have stated on many social media pages that it's just 3 days without sleep and that we, the citizens of this area, many of whom pay exorbitant amounts in property taxes, should just deal with it. I have a 9-month-old at home, and if any of you are parents, you will agree that dealing with a sleep-deprived child isn't something that anyone should be forced to deal with. My daughter is actually the reason I'm speaking before you. She's the happiest little girl in the room. On Saturday night, she was playing in our family room in her little activity garden. All of a sudden, the house started shaking, and next thing I know, her baby's first Christmas photo fell off the shelf and the frame landed right on her eye. Sunday evening, it got even worse. I put her to bed at her usual time. At 1:30 in the morning, her SIDS baby monitor went off. Of course, every horrible thought raced through my mind as I rushed to her room. At first, I thought I was still asleep because my daughter was in her crib screaming, holding onto the side rails for dear life because the furniture in her room was bouncing off the walls. It was like that episode of Tom and Jerry where Tom has a party and Jerry's sleeping in his sardine box bed. Only the difference is this was my 9-month-old baby girl who is still at great risk for shaken baby syndrome. It took me until 6 o'clock in the morning to calm her down. She was so incredibly upset and crying so hard and so violently that she was throwing up. How can I explain to a 9-month-old that the noise will go away or to try to tune it out and go to sleep? If this affected a perfectly healthy baby, I can only imagine what it did to someone with audio sensory disorders such as autism. Mr. Thanis touched on this, the next part of my speech, earlier in the evening. Joliet had a slogan a few years ago, if it's fun, it's downtown Joliet. 2 summers ago, one could not open the Joliet Herald News without reading an article how much money was owed to the city of Joliet by the now defunct Joliet Jackhammers. If Joliet would like the Electric Daisy Carnival to return, why not host the carnival at Silver Cross Field, which the city of Joliet owns? The city can control every aspect of the festival. It is in the downtown area, which according to media reports, the city is trying to revitalize. It will be in walking distance from the new transportation center, and all the revenue generated in this festival will remain in Joliet versus surrounding communities such as New Lenox. I wrote a post on social media a few days ago where a concert goer thanked the people at the New Lenox Walmart, the New Lenox Goodwill, the New Lenox Burger King, and McDonald's. Granted, he probably didn't spend thousands of dollars, but that money was spent in New Lenox and not the city of Joliet. Thank you for allowing me to express my concerns.
Mayor, I have a question. Mrs. Gassensmith, how is your baby? Did she have to go to the hospital for her eye?
Luckily, she didn't have to go to the hospital for her eye.
Sorry for that.
Next speaker is Tony Markham from Manhattan.
Hello, everyone. I have some packets I'd like to give to you.
Give them to Krista. She'll pass them out.
I don't think I have enough for everyone, but
Okay.
hopefully. My name is Tony Markham, and Friday night, the first night of the carnival, at around midnight, when I felt my house vibrating and my special needs daughter was screaming, I decided to work with her to get her to sleep, put her in the basement, the farthest room away, and then I got online and Facebook. And the longer that I was on, the more people that contacted me about this craziness going on. We didn't even know what it was. So I started a Facebook page called Hey Joliet, EDC Has to Go. I think that what we're talking about is your responsibility to the community members here. And you have a responsibility that you are failing. My mayor in Manhattan knew nothing about this. The mayor of New Lenox has said he knows nothing about this. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and talk about how the people that held the EDC are under indictment in at least one, if not two different states. I'm not going to talk about the people that have overdosed and died at EDC events around the country. I'm not going to talk about how New York and Vegas and other venues end at 11 p.m. What I'm here to talk about is the people that are sitting here, the people that elected you, and the people that count on you. I'm not just a citizen of Manhattan, I'm also a business owner. I own a special needs business, and let me just tell you, my phone was ringing for 3 days straight from parents of children with autism, sensory processing dysfunction. What do I do with my children? It's not like they could even go to a hotel because the hotels were booked. So please, think about what you're doing. I mean, honestly, some of the statements some people made were absolutely ridiculous. You think that it really went down 33%? Is that what you really believe? There's no way. Does anyone out here think it went down 33%? It went louder and louder and louder. Some of you reached out and were very wonderful. Some of you turned your back on us. And come voting time, we will remember that. We want you here to help us. I'm not here, it's not a witch hunt, okay? But 4 a.m., no city in the country allows that because they have respect for their citizens. And right now, what you are showing is a complete lack of respect for the citizens and for the other towns around us. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you this needs to be done, and if it's not, you're going to have bigger problems because we're not going to walk away. We're not going to forget this. We're not going to pretend that it didn't happen. Bad decisions were made, and we're giving you the opportunity now to fix them. However, I will remind you, the city of Joliet, the county of Will, and the state of Illinois have laws regarding noise pollution that you are not following. And I don't know the legalities of how you're able to give a license to bypass laws, but definitely it's something we're going to look into. I'm inviting each one of you to contact me at any time. My name's on Facebook. According to the members of the EDC group, I am, public enemy #1 with my name and my picture posted. I don't care because I'm not in it for me. I'm in it for the good of all the citizens. And I beg and plead that you be in it for the same reasons.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Oscar Cuevas of Joliet.
Tom, he did call the city clerk's office today. He will not be able to make it. He will come at a later time.
And Mr. Mayor, that concludes the speaker, or the citizens to be heard. If we could return, unless you have any comments, we could return to the agenda.
I would like to request if I could be heard today. I have just 2 letters to discuss.
Mayor,
Motion?
Before we do that, actually, I think, maybe yourself, should let the folks know that came here for EDC that we are going to be looking at it seriously.
I think Tom explained that. I know I had to go to the washroom, but I think Tom explained it. We are gonna, not only the noise level, but the times, et cetera, we are gonna be looking at that, absolutely, yes. Motion to speak on what, ma'am?
In the concerned citizens of Joliet for the non-for-profit prison, for-profit prison.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead, ma'am. Name and address, please.
I've spoken in the last meeting. My name is Maria Rosa, 621 Plainfield Road, Joliet, Illinois, 60435. I have two letters from the State of Illinois Office of the Governor, Pat Quinn. They will be passed around to you, if you don't mind. This was dated May 23rd, 2013.
Maria? Maria?
Yes.
Maybe before you give your talk, Tom Thanis has an announcement to make.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, I was in a conversation this afternoon with representatives from the Corrections Corporation of America, otherwise known as CCA. They indicated to me that they are withdrawing their interest in Joliet as a possible site for a detention center. Obviously, the issue is not resolved in Washington, D.C. It may be many months or perhaps years before the issue gets resolved, and they had made a determination that Joliet would not be under consideration for a site. So I don't know if that changes the need for...
Amen.
Since I'm up here, it's going to be probably 2 minutes, just in case, if you don't mind me hearing. And also another gentleman that came by from United Citizens of Mount Carmel for Education. He's going to go first, if you listen.
Carlos Camacho, 1083 Spring Green, Joliet, Illinois. And good afternoon, council members, Mr. Mayor. And I'm representing a small organization, Familias Unidas por la Educación. That's United Families for Education. It's going to disrupt everything we've been trying to build down here at Mount Carmel with our students, our young adults, our kids going to school, the separation of parents, separation of families. The impact it's going to take on their schooling, their future plans, their goals. It was just a horrible thing. It's beyond words. People wouldn't want to come out. People that are able to go to school wouldn't go to school. Families, parents that want to go out and work, they wouldn't be able to do that. Nobody wants to be separated from their parents. I want to thank you. Thank you for the notice. And these are family members and members of the Familias Unidas, and we're all working for better education for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a brief letter from Governor Pat Quinn to Janet Napolitano, Department of Homeland Security, Washington, D.C. Dear Secretary Napolitano, I'm writing this to express my concern regarding the proposal for the Correctional Corporation of America to build a private for-profit immigrant prison for the city of Joliet. This is a critical time for our nation. Under President Obama's leadership, we are in the verge of comprehensive immigrant reform and a path to citizenship for millions of immigrants across the United States. It's a time to embrace our nation's immigrants for built-for-profit not build for-profit prisons to incarcerate them. I'm proud of the Illinois leading the nation when it comes to welcoming all people, and recently signed a bill to improve traffic safety and ensure the undocumented immigrants in Illinois will be able to properly be licensed and to drive. I also fought for the Illinois Dream Act, a historic law that is opening an education opportunities that will help Illinois children pursue their dreams in Illinois and the United States. We must always ensure that everybody is in and nobody is left out. Based on these concerns, I respectfully request that you reject the proposal to allow for-profit detention center company to construct an immigration detention center in Illinois. And just the last letter is from Tim Cross, the House Republican leader, and it's to Secretary Janet Napolitano. Dear Madam Secretary, I'm writing to you to express the concerns regarding the proposal to the U.S. Immigrant and Customs Enforcement to locate a detention center in the city of Joliet, Illinois. This proposal will appear to be ill-timed given the current debate in Washington, D.C. Reforming of our immigration system in the United States. We strongly support from both Republicans and Democrats in Congress comprehensive reform. It's a real possibility for the first time since the 1980s. The immigration reform could come as early as this summer, so it would seem premature to be consulting the proposal. I will respectfully urge you to consider this proposal to the city of Joliet. Sincerely yours, Tom Cross, State Representative. Thank you so much, and God bless you all your endeavors as far as this is concerned, and we're very happy that decision was made from CCA. Thank you.
I'd like to say a few words if I may.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say that this is great news, that in meetings that I've attended over the last few weeks, they've talked about the governor and other elected officials who have joined in opposition to this for-profit detention center. But I want to personally thank myself, you, Councilman McFarland. I've been working in the Hispanic community with my father since I was 15. And we have worked to organize, to get people out to vote, and to get people interested in their local government. And until you ran for city council and you took that strong position, the only person in this whole city who took that strong position in opposition to this center, you did more in doing that than me and my father in trying to bring the community, the Hispanic community, together. You did that, and I want to thank you, because I think you are the main reason why we're not going to see this for-profit detention facility here in Joliet, but you also helped us in the Hispanic community organize and become more involved in our Joliet community. So for that, I want to thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we can return
Your
to...
Honor, one
Yes.
thing. Sorry. Your Honor, I'm sorry, Tom. If you don't have any objection to the rest of the council, could we move up the approval for the carnival at the Joliet Park District? I know Dominic's been sitting out here, and we could vote on that.
Let's do that in the liquor transfer, too.
Mr. Mayor, and members of the council, that is Council Memo Number 242-13. It's a proposal for the Joliet Park District to host the Taste of Joliet, June 28th, 29th, and 30th at Joliet Memorial Stadium. The request before you is the request under Chapter 5 of the ordinance for a carnival permit. It's been reviewed by the staff. Everything is in order. Staff is recommending that the permit be issued.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
It's been
Krista,
motioned and seconded that Windy City Amusements in the Joliet Park District be issued a carnival permit for June 28th through 30th at Joliet Memorial Stadium. Councilwoman Barber? Aye. Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hugg?
Aye.
Councilman McFarland?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Odekirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Your Honor, I normally don't vote in favor of these. However, this one's different. It's going to benefit the Joliet Park District and not just the operator of the carnival, so I vote aye.
Mayor Durrani?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Good luck with the taste. Sure. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, next item is Council Memo Number 241-13. It's a transfer of a liquor license at 1609 West Jefferson Street. Mr. Murphy will handle the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. A public hearing was held on May 8th, 2013 for the transfer of shares of a Class B liquor license at 1609 West Jefferson Street, doing business as TPC Longshots, Inc., formerly Barcode 52. Class B allows for the sale of alcohol on the premises only. No one appeared in opposition. The applicants are Anthony Christos and Rianne Finilli. Ms. Finilli is currently on the license with Jared Briscoe. Mr. Briscoe is requesting your approval of the transfer of his shares only to Mr. Christos. There are no outstanding monies owed to the city. After a successful final inspection, the transfer is recommended by the Building, Fire, and Police Departments. However, Chief Trafton correctly states that the calls for police service at this location have been extreme over the past several years. He does not oppose the transfer, but he does recommend the location be closely monitored. The Liquor Commissioner is also recommending approval as well as closely monitoring the calls for service. Mr. Tony Christos is here. He's prepared to answer any of your questions about improving the situation. And once again, the Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval.
Yes.
Jim, what is a lot of calls? Can you quantify that a little bit better?
Commander Al, care to speak on that?
You caught me off guard. I don't have the exact number of calls, but a lot of calls is in excess probably of at least 10 a month at that type of location. We have worked with Tony in the past, and he understands where I stand on the issue. And if things get that way, he knows we will be talking. So I think this is okay right now, but we will closely monitor his business, that's for sure.
Then my only follow-up question would be, Mr. Christos, why so many calls?
The venue we had was a little rougher, and we had a lot of problems. That's why we've completely changed what we're going to do and go with a different concept.
Different clientele you're going after now, different marketing base?
Different marketing, different clientele.
Aren't you spending some money in remodeling it too?
A ton of money.
Ton of money.
Deputy Commissioner Jim Greenan joined myself in a site inspection a few weeks ago. Yes, there have been extreme amounts of calls for service, but Mr. Christos has promised that he's changing his customer base. He has gutted the place. He is looking for a more mature crowd, fair to say, and more family-friendly. And I'll let you speak on that, some of the remodeling that you did.
Yeah, we're going towards more sports
sorry, I
activities.
can't hear Speak into you.
We're going towards more sports activities and food and beverage, more food too. Food clientele, older clientele, and going towards pool tournaments, a lot of bringing tournaments. We're going to be like the biggest pool area for bringing a lot of tournaments and pool leagues into the...
Pool tables, did you say?
Mhm.
And, I'm sorry, what are the hours of operation?
8 a.m. to 1 a.m.
And the liquor license is still for the 1 a.m.?
Pardon me?
Liquor license is for
1
the 1
a.m.
a.m.?
during the week.
1 a.m. during the week and
2 a.m.
2 a.m. on the weekend?
Yes.
And Mayor, as the Liquor Commissioner, as a suggestion of the chief, you said you're going to be monitoring this. What kind of monitoring are you going to put in place? And is there a time period, like a trial period, or what do you call it? Can't think of the word. Probation period.
I don't
Thank you.
believe we can do a probation. It's not in the liquor code. We are monitoring it, and he knows that if he gets calls for service, he's going to be called in, and so does his landlord, who is walking up behind him. Does he want to say something? John?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to say something. Tony has a very...
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry. My name is John Bays. I'm a big investor in this city, and I am Tony's landlord. Tony's been in this business for a long time. This is a very large place. His overhead is very high. And in the past years, he's had to have hip-hop, anything to bring in the money to cover the expenses in this place. We've invested together $200,000 making these changes. And now the bar itself, instead of being 11,000 square feet, it's about 1,500 feet. He's got a beautiful pool hall built, and we just took some pictures. If you would like to see this place, it's beautiful. We have a restaurant in there now, a pool hall, and a bar. And I believe this will eliminate all the crowd that he's had coming in for the last 8 or 9 years that the city didn't like. And like I said, for me, I own over $100 million worth of property in this town. You know, you never see me building violations. I believe in what Tony's doing here, and I'm supporting him 100%. For me to put my money into this deal, too, I think he's going to do a real good job. The place it's really first class right now. I don't think if you look at the pictures, you'll find any bar in this town any nicer. It's a whole different concept than what he's had before.
And when's the opening?
As soon as he gets his license.
Okay.
I will say this on his behalf, that when Mojo's first opened up, we had some problems there, and I called Mr. Bays into my office, and I said, you know, I don't want to put anybody out of business. You need to talk to them folks, and he did, and they've cleaned it up, and we don't have hardly any calls there anymore. So, yeah, Mr. Bays is good to work with. I know I can go through him to John, but I'm sure John will straighten out.
If there is issues, I will definitely get involved in it. Like I said, I think I need the place to be rented because it's a very large space. But again, I put a lot of my own money into this to make Tony more successful, and I think you'll really like the concept. If you get a chance to look at this, I think it's a total different clientele than what he's had. And if you don't mind, I'll just show you these pictures real quick.
She'll pass them out. Thanks, John.
I would so move, Your Honor.
Second?
Is there any other comments? Jan, any?
No, I just hope that we don't have to go to Mr. Bays like we did with Mojo's. After we made it very clear at that meeting with the Mojo's people.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
I don't have to see Mr. Bays.
Any other comments? No? Krista?
Motion and seconded, the transfer of a Class B liquor license be approved for Long Shots, Inc., located at 1609 West Jefferson Street. Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hogg?
Aye.
Councilman McFarland?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Barber?
Aye.
Mayor Durrani?
Aye, and good luck.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, go back to the top of the agenda. We have the minutes of the May 20th special meeting, May 20th pre-council meeting, and May 21st regular meeting for your review and consideration tomorrow evening. There'll be committee reports tomorrow. First item under Section 4 is the review and scope and duties of proposed City Council Housing Authority Committee. There was a council memo and a proposed resolution passed out before the meeting today. It was placed on your dais, and I believe it was emailed to you. If anybody needs an extra copy, we have one here. I have a couple here. What it does is establishes the Housing Authority Liaison Committee. That will be consisted of 3 council members nominated by the mayor and confirmed by the full city council. And then it addresses the scope and duties of the proposed committee. This is before you for your consideration tomorrow evening.
Quick question, Mayor.
Sure.
Tom, the one thing that did catch me is where it says the chair of the committee shall be responsible for calling all meetings. You know, might that go to the chair of the committee or a majority of the committee? What I mean to say is if I look at the finance committee that I serve on with Councilman Girl, it doesn't say the chair solely is responsible for it. And I'm told, I believe from council, like whether it's on my CTIS committee or it's on the the finance committee, that the majority, the other 2 members can call one if in fact the chair is not available to call one. So that just made me a little concerned there.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I drafted the ordinance and I really didn't give it much thought other than some procedure was necessary for scheduling. I did not anticipate that this committee would meet over the long haul on a fixed basis. It would be on maybe in the beginning there'd be a regular schedule, but over time I thought it would be more on an event basis, something that would require a meeting. And it just seemed to me to be practical, but we can make that modification if that's what you want.
That'd be fine.
I'll just go ahead and make the modification.
I'd also, in that same section of C, where it says the chair should also issue periodic reports, the committee shall also issue periodic reports. Change chair.
I can do that. I was just envisioning our typical process at the council meeting of the chair making a verbal report to the full council.
I prefer it to say committee.
I'll make the change.
Anything else?
We'll have a revised resolution for you for tomorrow evening's meeting. Next item, request to release audio tape of the City Council closed session meeting of May 21st, 2013. There was a request from Councilman McFarland that this be placed on the agenda. It pertained to my announced resignation, and that there was a discussion as to whether it was a voluntary or involuntary resignation, and I believe there was a request for some clarification on that. I am here to let everybody know that it was a voluntary resignation. It was not something that the Mayor and City Council voted on in closed session, nor was it suggested that I resign. It was a decision I made, and I think I had mentioned to you the various reasons. Because it was closed session, I won't share those reasons with you, but it was basically, I won't share it with the public. I've shared it with the mayor and council personally, and that resignation stands. We've discussed a 90-day transition period for the city council to start the search and look for a successor to me, and I'll continue working with the city council on that, but I believe that was the intent of releasing the audio tape, and I believe I addressed the issue to your satisfaction, I believe. Next item is a resolution, Council Memo 225-13, 225-13, which is a resolution appropriating funds for the 2013 pavement marking program contract. I believe that there was a discussion at the Public Service Committee that this contract is going to be removed from the agenda. Was that Councilman Turk? Yeah. So this is the MFT resolution. With your permission, we'll go ahead and remove that from the agenda, bring that back to you in 2 weeks with the main contract, which is Council Memo 232-13. There's about a $10,000 difference between between the low bid and the second bidder, and there was an issue regarding the qualifications of the low bidder. Staff will review that and report back to the Public Service Committee and the City Council during the next meeting cycle. Next item, Council Memo number 226-13 is a resolution appropriating funds for the soil erosion and sediment control application for Phase 1 engineering for the Washington Street over Spring Creek Improvement Project. It's a standard MFT funding resolution before you for consideration. Staff is recommending its approval. Next item is Council Memo number 187-13. This was held over from a previous meeting, and it's an intergovernmental agreement with Northern Illinois University for the development of a business case for fiber optic network within the city of Joliet. It was originally going to focus on downtown Joliet. The focus now is citywide. It will still be for $8,000. I'm not sure if Scott Kinsella has anything to add to that, other than I know Scott addressed it in detail at the last meeting. I don't want to go over it unless you have anything else to add.
Just that we'll be discussing it in detail again tomorrow at CTIS prior to the council meeting.
And there'll be a recommendation from the CTIS committee to the full council tomorrow.
Tom, the mayor?
Yes, sure.
One quick comment. Now, this is going to benefit most immediately once it's up and running, the multimodal, predominantly for the security and the cameras, but also too for the county as they build out down the road too, should they choose to.
Yeah, actually, this isn't for the construction of a fiber network. It's for the studying of it to see if it's feasible, and if it is, what the cost of that would be for the city of Joliet and others who would benefit from it.
I just wanted to clarify that because I think there was some confusion out there about Wi-Fi versus fiber optic. And I just wanted to clarify this is the project.
This is not for Wi-Fi. This would be for a fiber optic network that would service downtown Joliet as well as other parts of Joliet.
Thank you, Tom.
And Mayor?
Yes.
And I just want to clarify too, I guess there was a rumor out there about this, that we had voted this down, and that was not true either. So just to clarify, to get the truth out there.
Thomas?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the remaining items were reviewed at the Public Service Committee this afternoon at 4 p.m. And I believe the Public Service Committee will have recommendations on all the contracts, change orders that are on the remainder of the agenda. And then there will be a proclamation regarding the Relay for Life event coming up. We've already taken care of the licenses and permits, and that concludes the agenda items that will be on your agenda for tomorrow evening.
Anything else?
Yeah, there's one more thing. 2 weeks ago, this council voted on a diversity committee, and our attorney, Jeff Plyman, has set up some guidelines. And that's why we haven't met yet, because it's a relatively new committee, and it's comprised of Councilman Hogg and Councilman Carlin and myself. And so that's why we have not had a meeting yet. But do you want to read this today? You want to explain it today, Jeff, or you want to wait till tomorrow?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the diversity committee concept, although it's been somewhat in the public domain, was introduced at the last council meeting, and there were the nominations and confirmations of the membership of that committee. That was all done at the last meeting. I thought it would be helpful to the committee to have some written document that would set up its functions and procedures. And so I prepared a resolution very similar to what I prepared today for the Housing Authority Liaison Committee. And I've recommended to Councilwoman Quillman that we put that resolution on an agenda and get that approved, just so there's a written document establishing the committee and outlining its organization.
Now, can we meet before the resolution just to organize and get it going?
You've received the authority of the council to
Okay.
engage in operations. I'm just taking care of the paperwork a little bit late.
Just want to make sure it's all legal. Okay, so tomorrow night, hopefully we can have an announcement when our first meeting is going to be, because I know there's a lot of folks interested in that. Pardon?
I got a question for Jeff. Is there a reason we're not doing it as an ordinance and a resolution?
Yeah, normally when a council organizes its internal operations, it's been my practice to use the resolution as a device to do that. It has the same authority as an ordinance, but you're dealing with matters of internal procedure. For example, in 2007, when the council formalized the existence of the committees we're all familiar with, the Finance Committee, the Public Safety Committee, all that was done by resolution. And so, in fact, what I'm suggesting for the Diversity Committee, since it will be a standing committee with an indefinite duration, that it be added to the list of standing committees and be made subject to the same rules of procedure that currently apply to the Finance Committee, the Public
Gotcha.
Safety, and everything else.
Answers my question.
But the
Thank
quick
you.
answer is it's internal to
Got
the
it.
council, so I used the resolution.
Mayor? Jeff, just one last question then. Since it's going to be pretty much mirrored to what the Housing Authority, you'll make the same couple of changes on...
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
we already have a resolution that governs all standing committees, and I just lumped this committee in with all of those. So, I don't think that resolution really speaks to the calling of meetings.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it, and
Oh,
if I
that's
can
fine.
tweak it to be consistent, I will.
Thank you.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
It's a motion and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Hey, how's it going?
Do you have any use for any other?